but I'm so frustrated. Hello to my loneliness. I guess that ignorance is bliss. Take me back to before I knew. Rewind, take it out of cue. Innocence can be a young man's game. Signed up for the hall of shame. I wish I knew how much I miss not knowing that we're all screwed. When we play our roles and ignore the problems. I like to be away in my patience. Stay up, I feel so outdated. How can we look the other way? Sun is out, but the sky is gray. What would happen if I took a chance? It's always hard at first glance. I don't wanna, but I know I gotta do it. The truth is hard to swallow. I think I'll chew it. I wish I knew how much I miss not knowing that we're all screwed. When we play our roles and ignore the problems. I wish I knew how much I miss not knowing that we're all screwed. When we play our roles and ignore the problems. I wish I knew educated, but I'm so frustrated. How much I miss not knowing that we're all screwed. Educated, but I'm so frustrated. When we play our roles and ignore the problems. I wish I knew educated, but I'm so frustrated. How much I miss not knowing that we're all screwed. Educated, but I'm so frustrated. When we play our roles and ignore the problems. I wish I knew.
Good evening, everyone. I am your host, Collin, and I want to thank y'all for tuning in to episode 6 of Tailored Talk. And tonight's episode is Funding Your Business. And if y'all recognize, y'all see the set looks a little bit different tonight. That's because I'm currently in Washington, D.C. for a conference. And that played into why I was having technical difficulties yesterday, which is why I had to postpone the episode and move it so I had to move the episode to today, because I had to get the internet established and things like that. You know, if I'm gonna do it right, that's how I'm gonna do it, or I'm not gonna do it at all. So I appreciate y'all for your patience, but I don't want to waste any time because time is a little bit short today. So I'm not gonna recap the last episode. But we got a little bit into Shelf Corps, and we got into trade lines and building your personal credit. So I'm glad to have Herman Marigny here again, who's going to talk about just the different ways you can fund your business. So Herman, thank you very much for joining me this evening. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
No problem. And that was such a stellar episode, episode 5. Saw a lot of feedback from that. and you educated me as well as far as Shelf Corps. And was it I forgot what the other one was. It slips my mind right now, but you really did educate us really well on Shelf Corps and how they can be utilized. So tonight is all about different ways of funding our business. But let's get started with, first of all, I want to talk about Dun's number. I really want to go in depth as far as like what Dun's numbers are and how they should be utilized in your business. So could you just talk about Dun's numbers? Are you there?
Hello, can you hear me?
Okay, you froze for a little bit.
Yeah, you as well.
Okay.
So
All right, but
let me
yes.
go. Let me talk about Dunn's number for a second, right? So I want you to think of the Dunn's number is just a way for a company called Dun Bradstreet to be able to track its 330 million businesses. Dun Bradstreet is a worldwide organization that tracks businesses. And when I say they track businesses, they have business profiles. Inside of those profiles, it talks about the business owners, the CEO, the partners. It keeps track of every type of trade line that business have done, any type of partnership agreements that business have done. And so they created a 9-digit number, right? Data universal numbering system is what it calls. And that Dunn's number is super important if you're going to be doing any type of business worldwide. That's how they track who you are, how well you pay your bills, what your financials look like, what your previous partnerships look like, all of those things. So Dun & Bradstreet is a numbering system that was created by Dun and his partner Brad, and what they started, I want to say, back in the 50s. So the Dun's number is super important when it comes to establishing business credit.
So I guess you could say it's pretty much like a credit score for your business.
Yes. So I want you to think of it more like your social security number for your business. So think of it as your social security number. Now your credit score would be what's called a paydex score from Dun. Dun & Bradstreet offer a paydex, and from that paydex, it gives you a credit score. So you can definitely have a credit profile, and that Dun's number is your credit profile. It looks at everything, not just your score. So paydex carries your score, and your Dun's number is your profile, your business profile.
Okay, and you said so that's pretty much like optional, that paydex score you was talking about?
Yes, it's optional, meaning that you want a paydex score of 80 or higher in order to be considered for credit. So you don't have to have credit because everybody don't utilize credit. But let's say, for example, you were going to sell your business, and then I ask for your Dun's number so I can have Dun & Bradstreet give me a credit profile on your business. It not necessarily has to do with your credit score, because I'm more interested in the whole history of your business, everything you went through, as opposed to just if you have a nice paydex credit score right now.
Okay, is that something you'll recommend everyone get when they get their Dun's number, like right out the gate, or is that something they would need to get later on?
So yes, I truly recommend that you build your paydex number up, your paydex score, right? And it's a process. So a lot of times, in order to establish a paydex score, Dun & Bradstreet needs to see that you have trade lines, that you've done business with other businesses, and those businesses reported favorable terms on your behalf. So a lot of times, about 5 or 6 trade lines will give you a paydex score of 80 as long as you paid your bills on time. And I like you to pay them before time. So if you had a 30-day account with anybody, I like you to pay it on day 20, 21, so you can get a better score showing that you pay before time, not just on time. Okay. So yes, your Dun's number is a way for them to keep track of your company. Your paydex score is your company's credit score.
Okay, and this is a personal question I have for you, Herman, because when you get that Dun's number, how do you know, or when do they actually begin tracking, all the purchases and things that you do? Like when, it's almost like, when you're establishing credit, it's just like you go check your credit score, there's no history on there. And then it's like you're trying to get history. So when you get that Dun's number, when do they start tracking, and how do they start tracking what you're doing within your business?
All right, so there's 2 ways for this to transpire, right? I'm going to give you the way that it's done, and then a way that you can do it. So the way that it's normally done is, like I said before, Dun & Bradstreet has about 330 million businesses. Of those 330 million businesses, they report to Don's. For example, let's say you and I were doing business, right? And let's just say I bought some pallets from you. I was going to buy and resell some pallets. And then you report to Don's that you gave me those pallets on a 30-day term. It was worth about $30,000. I paid it in about 20 days. And so you will report our trade history to Dun Bradstreet. And because you're one of the members of Dun Bradstreet, they will, because they vetted you, they will take you and allow you to report on my credit. So there's a number of companies out there that Dun Bradstreet allows, or they pay them to report on people who they've done business with. So let's say, for example, you do have your DUNS number, your 9-digit number. And so I have one as well. And I got you to front me those $30,000 worth of pallets, and I paid you on time. You will report to Dun Bradstreet that High Impact Technology or Dr. Shelf Corp paid his debt on time. And so that, along with other accounts, will go into giving me a PayDex score, giving me a credit score. So when these companies start reporting our history, our trading history to Dun Bradstreet, is when Dun Bradstreet will start initiating a credit score for you.
So I guess that is important who you do business with, because, you know, of course, not everybody's going to report to Dun Bradstreet when you're doing business with someone, correct?
So that is absolutely correct. So that goes to the second part of what I've said before. So there's established businesses that Dun Bradstreet will accept the report from. And then, but let's just say you and I are doing business, but you don't report to Dun Bradstreet. Mm-hmm. So Dun Bradstreet has another program where if I get into their program, they'll contact you, they'll vet you, and then they'll add our trade business to my trade line. So there's two ways to do it. There's the standard way, which I mentioned, and then there is another way where if you pay Dun Bradstreet, they'll contact your vendors, they will vet them, and then allow them to report on your credit profile.
Okay. And I just ask these questions because, once again, I just want to put every scenario out there just so, you know, our audience is getting all the different scenarios and getting all the information possible when it comes, especially with dealing with Dun's number, because it is important with who that, you know, this goes to show how important it is to do business with certain people, corporations, or entities. Because if nobody's reporting, if you're doing all this business and nobody's reporting, then you're technically not building anything on your DUNS.
Correct.
All right. Well, thank you very much for covering that. And Dun Bradstreet is free. You can go to dunandbradstreet.com and literally just get a DUNS number established just like you can with the EIN. It's free. You can get it established just by calling them. And then lastly, I want to hit on this, Herman. Of course, they try to upsell you on different services.
Yes.
Would you recommend those things, or would you say just skip it for right now?
So I bought the services about 10 years ago, and I bought the services so other people could report to my trade line, to my credit, to my DUNS number. So I did do that, but I've never done it since then, because it's so easy for you to work with Uline, Granger, Shirtsy, Best Buy, Dell, everybody else, and they're going to report to DUNS on your behalf. So yes, when you call for your free number, their job is to upsell you into one of their packages. And I did buy one of the packages, and I was satisfied with being able to report trade lines for people who don't necessarily report to Dun Bradstreet. So they went in, they vetted the people, made sure they were real businesses, asked for a copy of the invoice and everything else, and then they added those trades to my account. But if you're doing mainline business, I wouldn't recommend you spending the extra $1,600, $1,800 for that program, because there's so many programs that you can apply to for free that will report to Dun Bradstreet.
Awesome. So y'all have that information. So just be ready when you go and get your Dun Bradstreet number, and they are going to ask you those questions as far as those extra services. So just be wary of that. All right, so let's get into the funding our businesses now and the different ways we can fund it. So if, you know, entrepreneur or business owner who's just starting out, they want to bootstrap their business, what are your ideas or philosophy on bootstrapping your business?
All right. So first, when we say bootstrapping, that means that you don't have a lot of resources, right? And by you not having a lot of resources or access to capital or credit, that means you have to stretch what you have. Basically, whatever you've got, maybe from your 401k, right, is a way for you to fund your business. Crowdfunding, where you can go and you can present your idea on social media platforms like GoFundMe, Kickstarter, different programs, Indigo, just different crowdfunding programs you can go to, or you can try to raise capital to start your business. Now, I need to say this first and foremost. I'm not a big proponent of bootstrapping for the following reason. The SBA, who had gave me an award some years ago, gave me an award for having one of the fastest growing business. They put out the data that home-based businesses or a lack of capital is the main reasons that business fail. So I have all the respect for somebody who starts their business inside of their garage or inside of their home. But I will strongly suggest that you have a business plan and that you have well capitalized at least 6 months worth of cushion before you go out and to really start your business, because a lot of time it takes months and months and months for you to start breaking even and then maybe even seeing a profit. Amazon, for example, they were net. They were taking a loss for almost half a decade before they started even breaking even. You got me? So please keep that in mind, that bootstrapping is one way to do your business, but my recommendation is for you to have the full amount of capital that you need. That's first and foremost. Second, if you do have to bootstrap, and many people do, right? I suggest that you look into as much, I'm going to say, collaboration as possible. You want to collaborate with the Small Business Administration. They have under their score system, their score organization, right, of retired people. You want to be a part of that. You want to get you a mentor or mentee out of the score organization, right? That would be free. You want to utilize as many free resources as you can when it comes to marketing, when it comes to building out your human resource, all of that, because just having a little money doesn't mean you can't put a team together. So that would be my ultimate thing to say, that yes, you can bootstrap, but bootstrap smartly by collaborating with other people where you can to help grow your business. Now, bootstrapping by itself has been done, has been successful for some entrepreneurs, and it can be successful for you. But please budget, please have a business plan. Please understand that you rather have enough money to finish a project than to run out of money before you're able to even break even.
Wow. Thank you for that breakdown, Herman. And it's very true, because I can come from the perspective of bootstrapping myself. When I started my business, and it was basically raising my own funds or basically using whatever leftover money from my employer, and we'll get into that next also, then putting basically pennies, a little bit of dollars towards my business. So it wasn't until 3 years in that my last real job, I got severance pay because there was a company-wide layoff, and I got a pretty decent size.
I think you froze again.
Oh, can you hear me?
You good? You good? Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay. But no, I was just saying, so, it wasn't until 3 years I was in my business that I got a nice severance from my last job that I worked for because it was a company-wide layoff. And so that severance allowed me to put money towards getting and purchasing my own equipment and basically establishing myself. And of course, I didn't spend it all, so I had a good amount that I still saved. But I had enough to where I could go get my own equipment and things like that, which made me fully independent. Because when I was in my bootstrapping years, I had to go rent out equipment, I had to go borrow equipment, and that was based on availability and things like that. So it's just like, yeah, bootstrapping was really a headache. It can be very long, time-consuming, tedious process. So yeah, just do like Herman said, please budget. Please have a plan, because if you're just getting money, a little bit of money, and you don't have a plan as far as like what to do with it, you will be wasting a lot of time, and you're not really growing your business that way. So, but with you having a plan, you know exactly what those funds are being allocated towards. So, but I just wanted to give my own example of bootstrapping. I just happened to get a severance, so don't bank on getting a severance, people. But just go about doing it the proper way, or look at these other options, which we're about to go into right now. So that's what I was talking about right there, was because I'm a big advocate for this. I tell people this all the time, because I'm sometimes asked, like, Collin, I had this great idea, I want to do my business, But I just don't know if I should, keep my job or should I just start my business. And I just look at them and I'm just like, okay, why is it a or? Why isn't it an and? Like, work your job and do your business. That's exactly what I did. I used my employer as my investor. So what that looks like is when I was paid, of course I paid my bills and, paid for necessities and things like that. But money I had left over, other people would say put it towards a savings. So yes, put your money towards a savings. But what I did was I put it towards my business. So I just built up a little bit of a nest egg. And like I said, once that opportunity came where I got a severance, then that just allowed me to take off and be completely independent. But you can definitely use your employer as your investor. But Herman, what would you say on that as well, as far as like using your employer as your investor?
Okay, so I'm wholeheartedly agree with you, right? So I'm not an advocate for somebody quitting their 9 to 5 and going out and maybe just trying to start it from with no safety net. I'm not an advocate of that because it causes too much stress. And if you've never been an entrepreneur before, you know nothing about marketing, you know nothing about human resources, you know nothing. You just had a dream, a vision, and you want to chase that dream or vision, which I imagine in some cases it turned out okay. But for the most part, I'm careful in that I want you to plan. I want you to be able to execute your plan. So the way you did it was excellent in that you kept your job and you were contributing money. Now, the only thing different that I suggest to my clients is that money that you are putting aside, put it into your business. I would like to see an active business account. So when they pull your business account at, let's say, KeyBank, Truist, or one of the places that give you, they can see that you have a history and that bank account has activity in it. All right, that business bank account have activity in it. So that's what I recommend to my clients that I coach, is that you do start your business like you recommended. You start your business as soon as possible. We get some age starting, and you also start depositing that extra money into your business. And that can be check-ins or savings, but that'll be great to see activity. That helps another way that we'll discuss in a minute.
Exactly. Because if you don't have a plan, if you just quit your job and go into your business, I mean, it's great to be ambitious, but you got to be realistic as well. And your realism should always supersede your passion or your ambition, because it's real life basically. So if you quit your 9 to 5 and things don't quite pan out, then you've kind of like lost two things, because one, your business isn't growing, it's not breathing because there's nothing being poured into it. And then secondly, you've lost your source of income. So, depending on your situation, whether you have a family or even if you're by yourself, you got to pay your bills. So you don't want to put yourself in a bad situation where you're canceling out your source of income. Be smart about it, have a plan. Just, put those funds towards your business like Herman said, but wait till you're sustainable. And I'll just share this one little piece. 1 month before I knew, we got the company-wide message that we were getting laid off, I was already planning my exit because my business was to the point where it was basically making more than what my job was paying me. So I was already planning my 2-week notice letter and everything. And then when the notice came that, there was a company-wide layoff, I was just like, oh, well, look at God. And it worked out better because, I would have just, put in my 2 weeks and quit. But, by me waiting, I got a huge severance, like I said, and that allowed me to go purchase a lot of equipment. So just keep yourself grounded, keep yourself rooted at your job, and wait till your business is making sustainable, reliable, reciprocal, consistent income, and then you can quit your job. But so let's get into the. Oh, go ahead.
Real quick, I'll be. Listen. So there's one way to do it, and I recommend if you are going to buy a business that's already established. That way, you already have a clientele. That way, it already has revenue. That way, there's already a system in place. So if you are going to make that jump, you want to acquire something along what you want to do that's already profitable. It's going to cost you more, but it'll be better than you closing your doors in 3, 6 months or a year or whatever. Because if you can buy an established business that has income that is increasing quarter over quarter, and it has a system in place, if you are going to jump that leap, that is my advice to you, is to buy an income producing business that's already has a system in place. So I've had clients that bought franchises that was already in place because the system was there. So They bought a hot dog place, wiener things. They bought a McDonald's that were already open. That was already functional. It costs more, but that's a lot better than you have to go out and do marketing, build a clientele, and put your funds at risk. So that is the exception to what Mr. Collin and I are talking about. You start from the ground up when you've never ran a business before. It's more riskier than if you acquire a business that's already has month-over-month income increases, revenue increases.
Yep, and that was a huge gem drop. So if y'all did not see episode 5 on where Herman really broke down Shelf Corps, please go watch that, because that was just a huge cheat code, because all the work has been done for you. So that's definitely a better way of doing that. So I'm gonna be please contact this man right here. Please contact him. This is what he does. He's been successful. He has the proven track record. He has the client. He has the testimonials. So please contact Herman. At the end of the episode, we will be putting his website on screen. So, and it's going to be in the profile description as well, the podcast description. So now let's get into seeking investors or venture capitalists for funding. I personally have never gone this route, because just the way I am, I like to own my baby. I like to be in full 100% control of my baby. And what I mean by that is, if you seek venture capitalists or investors, they're going to want an ROI. That ROI could be, a percentage of your company. They could have a stake in your company. And then, with that could come with certain things they want you to do. They want you to change how you do certain things. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's not for everyone. And for me, it wasn't for me. So, but go ahead and go into that, seeking investors or venture capitalists, Herman.
All right. So I'm ambivalent about it, because one side, if you need access to capital, and then they can bring resources that you don't necessarily have. So I want you to think about Apple, right? Steve Jobs, he used other capital, but he had to give away a lot of equity in his company to see it grow, to see it prosper. And he gave away so much equity that they eventually, when they weren't happy with his returns, he wasn't happy with the direction of the company, they kicked him out of his company. Right. So there's two schools to look at this. Whereas you do give up control, you do have a chance. If you give up or sell too much of your equity, you can get a chance to be removed out of your company if the people who giving you the money are not happy with your services. They're not happy with how things are going. Now that's on that part, but look at Facebook, right? So Facebook is another example. If y'all ever seen the movie of how Facebook was doing, you will see that somebody came along and gave them $500,000 worth of cash infusion, and from there they never looked back. Look at Oprah Winfrey. Somebody gave her some millions of dollars to start her broadcasting journey, and she never looked back. So I'm not against you partnering or you selling even equity or even debt. If that equity or debt has management experience, if they have ability to help you to scale, if they can had a value add to the money, I'm in agreement with that, especially if you don't have any money at all. And like Facebook didn't have a whole lot of money. In fact, I think somebody got a big payoff with like $20,000 in the beginning. So that $500,000 infusion really helped them to scale and do the things that they needed to do. And look at them now, multi-billion-dollar company. So as far as you accessing other people's money, you want to make sure that you have your legal stuff and all the contracts in place so nobody can't just mess over you. I would highly recommend that you have a lawyer, attorney, or somebody that is very familiar with mergers and acquisitions, or even a first round of funding, a second round, Series A, Series B type of funding. You want somebody in your corner that has that experience. So that is the good part, that you can get the funds, you can get the people, the resources, and also there are cubicles. There are different programs that's out there that you can go into their programs and they can help you to scale. Now, again, Collin is right about the downside. You lose control of your baby. Anytime you're giving up, somebody's giving you money, they want control, they want equity, they want some type of say-so. So it's a fine line. So it really depends on where you're at and what your attitude is, what your exit strategy is, because that's what it's all about. It is about your exit strategy at the end of the day, right? Because people from Popeyes, I don't know if you heard Popeyes fried chicken, the guy started it.
Of course.
Yes. And so years later, like maybe 25, 30 years later, or even longer, the family exited. They bought the last family out of the stuff. It's a pretty good exit thing. But while he was growing, he had to take on partners. He had to take on equity. And without that, he wouldn't have grown to be in every state in the country. Right. So yes, you can lose your power and your control, right? So you have to get with somebody to make sure you're not losing it, or if you are giving it up, you're okay with it for the expansion of the growth of the company. So like I said, I'm ambivalent about it. On one hand, it depends on you, what you're trying to do in your exit strategy. But if you don't mind giving up some control in exchange for maybe bringing in some talent, some people, right, and they have your best interest at heart, you can grow and you can expand with the rounds of funding, all right? But if you are, you're a control freak and you don't want nobody telling you what to do, right? You want this is your baby and you don't want nobody to mess with it, then don't mess with the funding round, because they're in the business of giving you enough rope. But if you're not producing anything, they're going to take your rope.
Exactly. Then thank you very much for breaking that down, Herman, as you break down everything. Because really there's no wrong answer to this, because there's so many different industries, there's so many different areas you can attack in entrepreneurship. And I think it does come down to what type of business it is. So, because Herman did mention seeding, so because you have cohorts out there, you have accelerators. So these all, feed into, like, I'm not going to go down the line, but it's just like if you have a business that's going to STEM research, or if you're, I don't know, you might be solving some kind of niche or solving some kind of problem in a specialized area. You might want to go into a cohort where it's just like they actually train you on how to scale your own company, basically. And then, of course, you're acquiring investors along the way. But
yeah, they have a roster of investors, but also they take a percent of it too, because they're giving you the skill set and they give you access to people that can do it. And so even those accelerator programs, right? They'll take a percentage. I've seen as high as 15%.
Yep. Exactly. So there's no wrong way about it, and even just my take on it, because of course other people are giving you money, so of course they want their return on investment, and that's where the control comes in, because just like they see you're not producing, they're gonna, okay, let's go this direction. So Herman, I want to ask you, what was your way of funding your businesses? Like, what was your method, if you don't mind sharing?
Oh, I don't mind at all. I love talking about funding, right? So I tell people this all the time. I have a bunch of degrees, but I didn't have no money, right? So I went to college, got degree after degree after degree, attended this university, business this, economics this, finance that, but none of that produced any money, all right? So, and how I got started, and I tell people this all the time, is that I accessed credit, personal credit, I leveraged it into the business world, and I was able to get funding. Without those steps, without that process, I tell people today, I probably wouldn't even be a business coach. I wouldn't even be a successful entrepreneur if I didn't access capital, because I didn't come from money. I didn't come from a lot. I come from any money. So I had to basically leverage my personal credit into the business world and access capital, then use that capital to expand my medical company at the time.
Wow. I think that's a mic drop right there. So that's why I said there's different avenues. It's your employer, it's utilizing your personal credit like Herman did, or it's seeking investors, and then, or it could be applying for loans. So, episode 5, we did go into the business trade lines, and then, building your personal credit. So what would you say as far as like, what is your stance on applying for loans? Because I personally didn't apply for loans, but I'll share my story later. But go ahead and go into that.
So this is what I coach, right? I coach you to use other people's money. And let me tell you how this system works, so you can you can make up your own mind if this is for you or not. So I didn't know, and with all those degrees, right, I had no idea that I can leverage my personal credit into the business world. And the way that works is that they look to see that you have a optimized personal credit profile. And by optimize, they run your credit, and then they look to see if you have a bunch of credit cards that you got high utilization, meaning you use a lot of your credit cards. They look to see if you have a history of 3 years or longer. They look to see if you have a high limits, like 5,000 or greater on your credit cards, and you have low utilization under 30%. So there, your credit profile is valuable. So that's how I got started, is that I leveraged my credit profile into the business world. Because I want you to think about this. Think about, why would a business give, or why would a bank give a business money if it's a new business? Why would they do it? Right? No different. When I was going to college, why would they give me a student loan? I mean, I was new, I was young, I didn't understand money, but they gave me a student loan. And the reason they gave me the student loan is because the government backed the student loan. So there's Sally Mae, different student loan programs that's out there. And so when I wanted to go to college, the government says, hey, give this young man a loan, I'm gonna back his loan, right? Even though he's fresh, he doesn't have any credit, he's just starting out, we're gonna back that. Well, business works the same way. So when you go get a business loan and you have a new business, just like I was a new student, right? They're going to need somebody to guarantee that loan. And so your personal credit, right? Your personal credit profile, if it is optimized for funding, it can be that personal guarantee. Just like the government backed my student loans, your personal credit would be backing your business loan. And so when I found that out, I was able to get $180,000 worth of business funding. And that went against everything I was taught. I was taught in college that I had to be in business a few years, right? I need to have revenue coming in. I need to have employees. I need to have assets that they can look at, right? I need to have taxes, all of that stuff. But that wasn't the case. My first business funding came from me never entering into the bank. Everything was done online. Me never showing any type of financials or tax, but the business was new. It was 2 weeks old. It couldn't show anything, but they allowed me to personally guarantee the loan to the business. And so this is how I started. And that's how I recommend a lot of my students to start. If they do not have a 401k, they don't have a severance package, they can't get crowdfunding, I would seriously tell you to invest in your personal credit profile, build that up, leverage that into the business world.
Wow. Absolutely. So, yeah, y'all better contact Herman, because trust me, he is going to get you business and bank ready, because he speaks the language, or he knows the language that these bankers speak and exactly what they're looking for. So he'll set you up in the optimal position to get you the maximum amount of funding. But $180,000, wow, sheesh. So with the loans, I say I didn't go the loan route before, because before I knew that it was better to spend other people's money. This goes back to, me not depending on investors and crowdfunding and crowdsourcing, because I don't want to be told what to do. But it's not just that, but also I believed in my vision and my business plan enough that I would generate enough income. And eventually, of course, I did, especially during the pandemic, because I've shared that story with everyone, how I made, I was able to, 4 times the growth of my company during the pandemic, because I had an extremely great idea and pivot during a time where everyone was panicking. But I believed in myself enough to where it's just I believe that I can generate enough funds to scale my business. And so it's not enough to just have the ambition, but you got to have a business plan, as Herman said before. And even he mentioned exit strategy. That's what I want to say before. Your exit strategy should be in your business plan too. If you want to have the company for 5-10 years and you plan on selling it, that needs to be in your business plan. And I'm losing my train of thought again, but basically there's different avenues. So you got to think all these things out. That's why it's important for you to have a business plan, because you are thinking every step of the way through to your business. Like, what is the plan for it? Is this something you're getting over to your kids? Is this something that's going to stay in the family? Is this something that's just going to be an exit strategy that, you want somebody to buy it out and you're just going to retire off of that? Or you're going to start another company? Like, what is your plan? So, but Herman,
that is so right. And so what I do for my clients, right, is that I give them a business analysis. Inside the business analysis, it tells you what you need to do to help you to not only get funding, but to create that business plan, right? To make sure not only does your business look fundable, but that it has longevity, right? And it also has inside of it an exit strategy. So it tells you how to best position your company. So when it's time for you to sell that company, you're getting not 2x, but you're getting 4 or 5x times either your net or your gross income. So you're absolutely 10,000% correct. You need to have that plan. We just offer a business analysis for free to people because we want to educate you and we want to also help you start that planning process.
Yep. And one of the things I acquired during the pandemic, when I experienced that exponential growth, was I hired a financial advisor, and then they took me through those steps as Herman is talking about, as far as like, okay, let's build up your personal credit. Let's so you can leverage your personal credit to get all these business cards and lines of credit and things like that. So yeah, once I understood the importance of spending other people's money, even though I was making a lot of money, I was still spending my own money when I could have just been utilizing somebody else's money and still had my nest egg over here to do other things with or just build. So that is very important to use other people's money, build your credit. Please get those trade lines. Please build your business credit. Please contact Herman, because I'm going to contact Herman also, because there's some things I want to do definitely from the things he shared from the last episode. Anything else you want to share on applying for loans before we move on?
Yeah, so real quick, since we went down the rabbit hole of business credit, right? So there's different types of business credit because this thing is about funding. And so I started with the one I just told you about, that is called business credit cards. So when I first got started, I went after the low-hanging fruit, which is business credit cards. But before I went after the business credit cards, I have my business and lender compliance. So I don't want you running into any bank. I don't want you applying for any business credit cards unless you look like a business. That's super important. Now, some places, I want to say, they will also determine how much they give you based on your credit score. So even before that, you want to make sure that your personal credit is optimized for funding, but your business look like a business. When I say look like a business, that means you have a address, a business address that they can find, a business telephone number, all of those things under lender compliance that you've seen in other episodes, right? You need to have in place. Now, now we can talk about funding. Now we can talk about taking you anywhere and get you funding. We can take and get you business credit cards. We can get you business lines of credit. We can do different things. If you're going to go after business lines of credit, I want you to be an established age company when you go after business lines of credit. But to go after business credit cards, you can go as a new business. But as long as somebody can personal guarantee it, does not have to be you. Now, this is the thing that really shocked me. It was my aha moment, is that when you have a corporation, anybody in the corporation credit will do. It doesn't have to be you. As long as that person has equity inside that company, and I want to say 20% or greater equity inside of that corporation, their credit can be used, all right, to be able to go after business credit cards, business lines of credit, right, or any type of funding. So yes, it doesn't just have to be your credit. So if your credit isn't where it needs to be, you can get your credit partner. You can have somebody share your vision, or you can buy your credit partner if that's the case. So we did that years and years ago doing the real estate, 2008, 2009. We would pay people to be added to corporations that we created for their credit. So what Collin is saying is absolutely right. Business funding is paramount to you being able to grow and expand your business, and you having access to that funding could be the difference between your business is surviving or thriving.
Exactly. And I just want to remind everybody, please, if you have not already, please download the process map. I created a process map for y'all to be following these steps, because y'all are seeing it manifest through every single episode. This is literally giving you a step-by-step guide. Everything Herman is talking about is everything that was covered in previous episodes. So it's just like we talked about getting your business established, establishing your business the correct way. So these are all labeled in the episode. So that's episode 2. As far as like getting your commercial virtual address, as far as like getting your professional website, getting your professional email, getting your EIN number, structuring your business. So it's just like these are all laid out for you, and it's all in chronological order. So I'm glad we're having all these full circle moments, but please download the process map, and also download the guide. All of this is going to be in the description of every single episode, but y'all should be following along with each one of these episodes. You should be making your own notes. That's why I created those materials and made it to where you can download it, because you're supposed to be following along, making notes, and you're supposed to be applying these things. That's why I spaced these episodes 2 weeks out, because I don't want it to just seem overwhelming to you. We want you to go apply these things between each one of these episodes. So when you come back for a new episode, you're getting more information and just adding more. So that was a mouthful, but I want y'all to follow along here. We're not just doing this for fun.
Yes, sir. Apply that information.
Absolutely. So now let's get into crowdfunding, because you did mention that earlier. So go into crowdfunding. I've been a part of crowdfunding. I've done crowdfunding for some of my clients because I put together campaigns for them. But if you just go in depth as far as like crowdfunding and what your personal opinions are of crowdfunding options.
I like it. I absolutely like it, especially in this day and age with social media and everything else. But I don't want anybody to get the wrong idea that it's as easy as it sounds. Like you have an idea and then you're going to ask for money. I reached out to some of these crowdfunding sources. I believe it was Kickstarter about 6 years ago. And I'm thinking that they were going to do everything and they was relying on me to be able to put my information out there on social media, me to be able to reach out to my network to be able to get started. And I didn't pretty much like that because that was no different than me going around asking my family. So with the programs, I don't want anybody to think that, oh, I'm just going to start a crowdfunding or Kickstarter or anything else, and they're going to do all the work, and then they're going to market this to their clientele. Yes, they will for lots of money. Like they wanted, I want to say maybe 20 or 25,000 to be able to try to raise me more money with no promises or whatever the case might be. So there's different type of crowdfunding platforms. So just do your due diligence to see what is going on. Most of them that I've seen is that you have to create everything and then you have to push this out to your community, right? Market it out to your friends, your family, and your circle. And then they're just going to help with their name of you've got a Kickstarter, you got an Indigo, or whatever the case might be. So it is a great way to get funds. I've seen it. I've seen people do raise funds on these platforms, but it's not as easy or simple as a lot of people make it sound, right? You have to put the work in. And if you don't have money to begin with, you have to market to your own circle. You have to market to your own family, friends, business about this Kickstarter, about this fund GoFundMe, about this Indigo or whatever. Now they have a program that they'll charge you for where they will do to their network and stuff like that. So if you have the money, it may not be a bad idea, but I didn't go that route. I didn't like the fact that I would have to market to my inner circle.
Right. Right, and and like I said, I came from the experience of I served maybe 3 or 4 clients that had Kickstarter campaigns that they brought my AV company in to do shoot all the professional content because that was going to be used for their marketing campaign, basically to market out there, get it out there of what they were trying to do so they could raise those funds. So I was in the trenches with them because I was seeing the progress of their Kickstarter or their I'll just say
Indigo.
Of Indigo or their Kickstarter, and y'all, this could be a long process. And the other thing I like about this is just the many parallels business and personal has. So you're not supposed to cross over, you keep them separate, but it's just like they act as their own entity, their own person. So just like you get a personal bank account, you should have a business bank account. Just like you have a resume, your business should have a capability statement. And then as Herman said, just like you have a social security number, you have a DUNS number. So it's just like there's everything you're getting for your personal life, you're getting for your business also. So you should definitely keep those things separate. And the reason I brought that up is because the Kickstarter and the crowdfunding is almost just like a GoFundMe on the personal side. So just like you'll create a GoFundMe, y'all know how those are. You're asking for this amount of money and it's not guaranteed. You might get cents here or cents on the dollar here, but that can take a very, very long time. And depending on what you're trying to do for your business, that might not be in your business plan to, wait it out 6-7 months. There's no clear-cut path. There's not going to be it might end, your Kickstarter might have an end date, but as far as you requiring the funds that you're needing to do what you want to do, there's no deadline to that. You never know when you're going to get to that goal or to that limit that you've set. So just be aware of that because, like I said, I've seen my clients go through it and it's, some of them didn't meet their goals. Some just went it just took a long time. So just be wary of that. It is exactly like a GoFundMe, and you have to have a marketing strategy behind it. You have to have a robust network that you can count on. But you just just putting it out there in the wind, you're going to be waiting a long time. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Okay.
All right, so last thing we want to talk about is grants. That's actually what they were talking about here at this conference that my company is doing right now. They're talking about grants and how some of these grants can be 97 pages long, and just the strategies of applying for grants, because they're not. Some of these grants are not set up for certain people. So there's strategies behind doing grants. But what is your stance on grants, Herman?
All right, so I got started. I opened a 501c3 about 35 years ago, right? And when you open up a nonprofit organization, is what it's called. I opened up a nonprofit organization so I can help inner city youth to get their CDL, Class B license only, so they can drive for RTA. They can drive school buses or whatever case might be instead of getting into trouble or whatever. And so we went out, and by doing that, we had to write our papers. We had to request money. We had to get a 501c, and then we had to do a lot of grant writing. And so I had to hire a writer to be able to go out and to ascertain those funds. And I'm going to be honest with you all, I did not like it. I didn't like it that every year, in order to keep my business running, I had to go hat in hand to be able to ask people for money. Now, that being said, I was doing it the wrong way. So I tell everybody that I was absolutely doing it the wrong way. I went in with the bad, because I have a friend of mine has an HIV for AIDS Foundation, and his AIDS Foundation has raised millions of dollars with grants and everything else. But he do need people to keep him, to make sure that he's reporting accurately and everything else. So he did it the right way with grants. He went in, not only got him a grant writer, but he got somebody to be able to go after government grants. He was going after government grants for his particular thing, which was AIDS at the time. And I remember when he first started, he got a building donated to him by the city, and then he turned that building into a hospice type for HIV. And then he went out and applying for grants. And some years he would do really well, some years he didn't. And he just recently told me that during COVID, he did horrible. There was hardly no money coming in for AIDS Foundation. So he switched over to COVID. And so he got millions of dollars of COVID money to be able to spread the word for COVID. So there is a path. When you're going after grants, there is a path, but you need a team together, and y'all need to know what you're doing, and you need to have the patience as well, because it's not like as soon as you apply for the grant, you're going to get the money. There's a lot of y'all applying for the grants, and it's round after round after round. So I am a proponent of it if you put a team together and you understand the process and you go after these funds, because they don't have to be paid back. That is a grant. But government grants do have some things inside of it where they want reportability, accountability, and stuff like that. So make sure that you can and you will do that. So I like it if you have a team in place. Or if you like me, not patient and not with a full team in place, I wouldn't recommend it. So it didn't work out well for me, but it worked out well for one of my good friends.
Right. Okay. And would you say 501(c)(3)s they typically go for grants, nonprofits? I know there's not
So what happens is
a
now
one size fits all, but what are the typically ways that 501(c)s get?
So it doesn't. When you get the 501c3, they're going to put you on probation for about 6 months to see about your financials and taxes and everything else. So when you apply to the federal government for a 501c3 grant thing, that means you're tax exempt. That means if somebody donates something to you, they can get that off of their taxes. So you can basically cars, boats, or services, or whatever the case might be. They can get that reimbursed off of their taxes, business or even personal taxes. So that's the exemption that you want to get in place when you're starting to go after grants. So there's different types of grants that you can get. Like, you don't have to have a 501c3 to get minority development grants and to get other type of grants, but I was specifically talking about tax exempt status.
And I think that's why it's important to, when we talked about early episodes, when you're starting your business, or before you start your business, you need to understand your industry and what's the best ways of funding your business. Because really, if you're in a restaurant business, if you're a 501(c)(3), if you're going for profit, if you're nonprofit, whatever it might be, you need to understand that industry and how it functions. So it's like you really got to do extensive research and not just dive in and figure things out as you go, because these things will become a hindrance as you go into your business. So if you don't have a plan, if you don't have a strategy, you're setting yourself up for failure, as we talked about actually in the last episode. So Herman, is there a resource of where everyone can find grants, or is there a avenue you can recommend as far as like where people can
So you
find
go
good
for the
grants?
501(c), you go to the post office and they'll give you the paperwork to be able to reach out to the IRS or to the federal government agency that you go through, right? And also the agency I mentioned earlier, SCORE. You can go to SCORE, and then they'll also have people that did grants and can write grants as well. That's SCORE.org. You can go there, and also I got approved for a government grant, meaning military grant. I wasn't not as a 501(c). So there's different things. There's minority development grants. There's grants for people different, Hispanic, Asian. There's different types of grants. So I am going to challenge you all to Google grants and the type of grants that you're talking about, and then you'll see. Now, there's a great resource called ChatGPT. So if you put ChatGPT that you're looking for a certain grant or a certain type of grant company, they're going to give you a whole list of different grants that you can get.
Thank you, Herman, because I was just, that's what I was going to ask you. I was like, you're a big advocator for using AI, because you use AI in some of your businesses as well. So what would you say, is AI a good tool to use to actually write for your grant? Because you talked about getting a grant writer.
Yeah, it's a great place to start. It's a template type of deal, because you said something earlier was very important. There's different niches. There's different ways to do something. So I think it's a great place for you to write out a template, to get a blueprint, to collect information, to be able to do everything. So that is great. Books are great on grant writing, but I'm still going to tell you to bring in a professional at this stage. If you can, bring in a professional. That professional may have access to where you can apply, knowing, let's say, for example, they help me out in transportation and you need a transportation grant. So now they already got a list of different places that you can apply to get a transportation grant. So yes, use ChatGPT as a resource, but do get you a mentor or guide your first time out. Mm-hmm.
Yep, and I'm glad he said that, because score.org, so once again, that's episode 2, part 1, where he talked about, Coach John talked about going to your local SBA office, going to your local Chamber of Commerce. All these resources are there. They can tell you about all these grants, all these options that are out there. So utilize your local resources. They are out there, people. And Herman, is there any other funding options you can think about? Because I mean, we've gone through all of our points, but any other funding sources you can think of, or that you might provide? Most
businesses get started from family, right? Most of them, people that know you, love you, and trust you. That is the place that, you believe it or not, if you look up the stats, most businesses start with immediate funding, like from families who believe in them and everything else. So they branched off into crowdfunding and everything else. So don't overlook that avenue as well. Because I had a cousin of mine. He wanted to invest $100,000 into one of my businesses from a 401, because the business could give him a better return on that. So don't overlook family or people that know, love, and trust you. Okay, that is the primary place for extra funds. I'll say this as a closing remark. When Spike Lee started his business, that's who he went to. His family. His family also offered their credit cards. So they also borrowed money off their credit cards to give to Spike to make his first money. First movie, She Gotta Have It. So if you look back at his history in the movie, that he used his family thing, and the family used their personal credit cards to help him raise the capital to be able to start his movie. All right.
Yep, I'm a Spike Lee. That is true. He ran out of funds in the middle of that movie, and he had a big dilemma. But his family came through with him, for him. So that's why I like to call those silent investors. So,
hey.
So Herman, thank you very much for giving us your time again. I really appreciate you for coming back for part 2 and breaking down just the different funding options. I know you gave 2 books last episode, so do you have a third book that you would recommend that our viewers read?
Yeah, I don't remember the 2 books that I gave you all, right? But they're more than likely probably was Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah, right? That was one of them.
So for this extra book that I'm gonna give you, The Psychology of Money. So The Psychology of Money is a great book, a great read for you to be able to start understanding that dealing with money is a mindset. It's absolutely a mindset. And when I read the book, at first I thought it was just gonna be another motivational book, or don't do this and don't do that. But it was jam-packed with habits of how to form and how to look at owning and controlling assets, and then keeping those assets away from other people with horrible spending habits, right? So The Psychology of Money will be a great book. The author escapes me right now, but if you do Psychology of Money, best-selling book, it's going to pop up.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. As I always do, I will close out with this. According to the Small Business Administration, about 20% of small businesses fail within the first year, 30% fail within the second year, and 50% fail after 5 years in business. However, the tips, advice, and resources we offer on this podcast will ensure that you will not be one of those statistics. Hopefully, y'all are out there taking notes, but until next time, we're outie.